Hello, hi everyone. I'm Nidhi and welcome to the Pursuit of Finance Stories Beyond Numbers podcast. Today I'm very excited to bring yet another exciting episode with a very distinguished guest with us. Welcome Mr. Robin Banerjee with us. Robin Banerjee has experience of more than 40 years. He's a CA, CS, CMA and MCOM. He is currently the chairman of Nuclear Research Company, a global research organization. Robinda is not only a finance professional or a chairman, he is also an author, he is a guide, he is a mentor, he is a coach, and he's also a social activist. He is on multiple boards of government, including the CIA Western Council, the Committee of Social Responsibility and ESG. Thank you, Robin, for on our podcast.
Thank you, Nidhi, for having me with you. Thank you.
So, Robin, tell us about yourself, your journey, your life story, something on personal. How did you grow up? Where you grew up for the listeners?
Early life, most of us, I think, is not all hunky-dory. It was also same for me. Poor family. My father did not have enough earnings to even feed us. If there was lunch, there was no dinner. And if there was dinner, there was no lunch. There were no books. We didn't have enough books to read. There wasn't sports shoes to wear to go for sports. So yes, struggle times as I went along. Because of the inappropriate sum of money being available to my parents, as I grew up, I found in front of me the cheapest education to have as a chartered accountancy. If I remember those days, it was around 400 rupees.
Okay.
So that's how I started. Having found a very cheap way of progressing in life. And people around me told at those days that CA looks to be a good career to have. That's how I did this course, and then slowly progressed in my life as I went on.
That is quite insightful, Robin. So, if you have also done multiple other degrees, so what made you to pursue those degrees as well in addition to CA?
As I was pursuing my CA exam, and as I told you, or CA course, as I told you that my parents did not have enough money, I found that there is one more course which people can do at that stage. That was the cost accounting course, or cost accountancy as it is called. But what about money? There was no money for that course. And that course was also cheap those days. Even today it is quite cheap. So without telling my parents, without telling my dad, I borrowed money from my auntie, I remember. I wouldn't say borrowed. I took money from my auntie. I don't think I would have ever told my auntie that I'll give you the money back. And I registered for that course. That was about 1 year after I started my CA course. I was in my internship, as it's called. After another 6 months later, I found out there is another course called Company Secretaries that also people who are doing CA and costing can do. By the way, my dad was blissfully ignorant that I've already enrolled myself for costing course. So I had to borrow money again. Fortunately, again, it was also not expensive. So I told my auntie that I want to do my company secretary course. My auntie was, of course, of the opinion and was viewed that my daddy is all aware, my parents are aware. So I'm already doing what my parents have asked me to do. So she gave me money again. So come about 1.5 years or so between from the time I registered myself for the CA course, I also enrolled myself for the company secretary course. It's all because friends around me told me these are courses which are possible to be done. These were cheap courses to be had. They were all in finance accounts area, and I had my auntie giving me the money. This is all how it started. After about 2 years, my daddy got to know that I have enrolled in these courses because the letters from this institute had started coming in. And those days there was no email, but there were letters. So a letter came from ICSI or those days ICWAI, which is Institute of Cost and Works Accountants of India. And my daddy asked me that why are so many letters coming from the same institute? You only Institute of Chartered Accounting should send you letters. Originally, he thought these must be marketing letters which were coming in. But then he asked, and then I said, you know what? I also got admitted. He got very angry. He said, who is going to give money for all this examination? Because you have to appear for the exam. Who will give you money? Who will fund money or fund your exams? I had obviously no answer to say, no answer to give. But be as it may, that's how it all started. So did it start through planning, proper guidance, proper objective view as to the future? The answer is no. I think it all started by chance. My fellow friends told me these are nice courses to have. And by the way, in those days, of course, I wanted to do MBA because that's where most students would pursue an MBA. But those were out of question, very expensive. Forget about asking any dole from anyone. So I couldn't pursue MBA because there wasn't any money. This is how we are.
That is very inspiring story. I mean, coming up with a family with no means and doing so many courses and finding a way to do. That's what is very inspiring here, Robin. So if I move ahead, in terms of you have been very successful. You have worked in many countries, many companies in the leadership positions, like Hindustan Unilever, Suzlon, or Thomas Cook. According to you, what are the top 3 skills which had been most important for your success in life?
Success. I always believe that success begets success. As a young person, most of us don't get good advice as to what is it that one should do to move us in our lives. Did I know before the journey started? I don't think so. But if I look back, what are those key skills perhaps or attributes which would have helped me in my journey, or perhaps it would help anyone in their journey? Number one is the subject matter expertise or subject knowledge. No employer employs anyone who does not know his or her subject. If you join as an auditor, you need to know the auditing. As you join as a marketer, you need to know marketing. Joined as a quality control, you need to know quality control. So subject matter expertise is number one requirement. Number two requirement, I believe, is a positive attitude. The attitude to be able to do anything. I can do approach. Many times I have realized that people are complaining that I can't do it, it's too difficult. That's not possible. We have to think that everything is possible. The word impossible itself means I am possible. So positive attitude. And number three,
Yes.
in the world of business, the most important ability which one should have is to think as an entrepreneur. Think as a person who will be able to get things done. Now, the word attitude and thinking as an entrepreneur are two different attributes. Just because one has positive attitude, I can do it, does not necessarily mean the person is thinking like an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurship is all about getting an opportunity, turning or making profit out of opportunities. Making profit out of opportunities. There are opportunities all around us. The only thing is we need to catch them, we need to identify them and make money out of it. This necessarily needs the skill of interacting with others, influencing many people, motivating others, ability to work with others. This is the biggest skill which an entrepreneur has. An entrepreneur has an idea. He or she knows perhaps what is to be done, but who will do it? He gets it done or she gets it done through others. So he or she motivates others, a team of others. So whenever you see startups, we talk about we want to become a startup entrepreneur. 7 out of startup entrepreneurship fails because that entrepreneur or the startup entrepreneur has a great idea, but does not know how to get it done through others. He or she has a great attitude, but doesn't know how to get done to others. So to summarize, I think what perhaps helped was subject knowledge, number two, a positive attitude, and a spirit of entrepreneurship.
That's very insightful. I think the point you mentioned about thinking like an entrepreneur and acting like an entrepreneur, normally for the finance professional, that does not come naturally. And if someone can develop the skill which you have developed in masters, then there is no limit. Sky is the limit, as you say. Becoming an entrepreneur, working through others. Very insightful, Robin. If, a fun question here for you. If you had any superpower with you, then what superpower you would choose that will further enhance your performance?
It's a good question. If I had a superpower, what would I? What is it that superpower which will enhance my power? The superpower I would believe is the ability to see the future.
Wow.
The ability to see the future. Only if you knew what is going to happen tomorrow. Only if you knew what is going to happen next year. Only if you knew what will happen 5 years later. Only if you knew that an opportunity today can be an idea today can be converted into an opportunity tomorrow. Only if you knew that the person whom I'm recruiting will be able to work for me and work with me in the future. But the problem is we can't see the future. And because we can't see the future, which to my mind is a great thing, that if everyone knew the future, then the world would have gone into a different spin. And because we don't know the future, we keep trying. Some work, some doesn't. And that is what makes our life journey more interesting. I dread to fear that if I would have been able to see the future only to know that I'm going to die the next day, I wouldn't survive today. So thank God I don't know the future. We keep trying and the rest, God takes care.
That's a very excellent answer. Crystal ball gazing. Even I was loving to have it. But now when you share, what could be the implication of that, I think it's better off we don't know about future. We plan and we keep on trying and hope for a positive future.
I must tell you a small little anecdote that when I was a kid, my father, because we had inappropriate means, financial means, so father called an astrologer home. I was about to appear for my higher secondary examination, which perhaps was about 6 months or 9 months away. And the astrologer came and my daddy showed my palm to the astrologer. And then astrologer looked at my palm and asked me to walk away. But I walked out of my room, but I was still standing outside the door, trying to understand what is astrologer talking about me. And the astrologer told my dad that don't have much hope on him. He will just barely pass his exam. So it's okay, he will just pass his exam, he will survive, but don't have too much hope. My father was actually thinking that if I pass my higher secondary examination with first division, in those days first division used to be 60%, 60. And nowadays 90%, even 90% is not good enough. So first division, then I'll be able to get a job. So I heard that and I forgot about it, honestly. I forgot about it. Being a kid, really, you keep playing and doing things. And what happened in the higher secondary exam, not only I got the first division, but I stood second in the whole of the state of West Bengal.
Wow.
So, and because of that, things obviously changed forever. My father was thinking that I should take up a job, but because I stood second in in the whole of West Bengal state. Um, the friends and family said that, oh no, he should study further and he can't get a job, take up a job. And since then, I realized that this palmistry, looking at the future, is completely useless. Because what happens that if somebody tells me my palm is bad and there is no fate line, something like that, what would I do? I still remember the president of the US, Abraham Lincoln. He was also told, but that by a palmistry, palm is that he has no fate line. And the president that day, Abraham Lincoln, drew through a knife his fate line, and he became the president of the United States of America. So, future, essentially speaking, I feel it's in our hand. We say future is in our destiny. I feel future is in our karma. You keep doing things, and future will automatically reveal in front of us.
That is very motivating. It is future, it is in our karma. It's, it's a line which will stuck with me forever. Thank you, Robin, for sharing this. So, moving ahead, we'll go back in your childhood. Uh, is there any childhood or, when you were young, is there any situation where or a challenging circumstances in your life which entirely changed the way in which you were thinking, either your life or your work, which shaped you in a very significant way? Is there any incidents you would like to share with us?
One, I have already shared that I stood second in the board for my high secondary exam. Had I not perhaps got the rank, my daddy would have perhaps arranged a job of a clerk of some banks. I presume so that would have happened. The second important turning point for me was after I qualified my CA, and as you know, there is a company called Hindustan Unilever, which both of us worked sometime or the other. HUL calls for management traineeship to the rank holders, and a letter came in my home asking for or giving me an opportunity for an interview. So I was in Kolkata, never traveled outside Kolkata ever. And I came to Mumbai, I went to Mumbai for an interview. So my getting the management traineeship in Hindustan Lever, those days it used to be called Hindustan Lever, now it is called Hindustan Unilever. HLL it used to be called earlier, now it is HUL. Getting the management traineeship in HLL was my turning point. To my mind, that's a second turning point in my life. And then, yes, that company is almost, perhaps to my mind, the best university in the world. And the rest, of course, became fairly well.
Yeah, I completely relate to this. For me also, one of the turning point was joining the management training program. That entirely changed the perspective, how I was seeing it. And I echo the point.
I have an advice for all the youngsters who will be listening to this podcast ever. Many of us aspire for great jobs, good jobs. Not many, each one of us, I think, aspire for great jobs. Of course, some of us would like to become an entrepreneur, but barring that, if you are aspiring for a job, how do you get a good job? And I want to tell you the way the HLL, those days interview went through. So my learning from that is subject knowledge. You must understand the subject, no question about it. Whatever you have studied, you must understand the concept behind it. Number two, we must have the ability to be able to express ourselves. There was a group discussion, and out of the group discussion, there were 15, I think, of the group discussion. They picked up 5 for the final interview. So 1 in 3 succeeded. Now all 15 of them were rank holders. They brought people from all over India, which must have been true for Nidhi too, for you also. So ability to be able to communicate. Many of us, especially the accounting fraternity, we know our subject, but we don't know how to communicate. And in this communication, I would request all of you to have not only a written communication skill, but also oral communication skill, which includes being able to face an interview, which may be 15, 20, half an hour, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, or half an hour, and a group discussion. So to summarize, good jobs we can dream for, but we need to work for it. Have your subject knowledge, get your subject knowledge cleared, have concepts cleared, and number two, please, for heaven's sake, have the ability to be able to communicate, both on one-on-one basis and on group basis.
Yeah, very important point you made. Even till now, we focus more on the subject matter knowledge. Many people, or many of us, we don't focus on communication. We feel it will come naturally, but it does not come naturally. It needs to be prepared for in a formal setting. So two important insights for every listener: prepare your communication skills well, both written, oral, and within oral, both the interview as well as the group discussions. Very relevant points for CAs. This CAs or CAs, this could be very, very important. In MBA, they taught that in college, but for others, accounting profession, this is something we will need to pick up more than what somebody will teach in a classroom. So moving on further, if you have changed like many companies and many roles over multiple countries you have done. So if you go back and see how you always, you say, okay, this is a particular career path for me. Whenever you had chosen from one to next to others, what are the various or your important parameters which you were looking into any next job? What would be your advice for, what has been important for you and what will be relevant in today's context?
To be honest, I never plan for the future. I keep giving the best. And because I don't know the future, you did ask, what is it that one thing you want to do? So if I could know the future. But I never know the future. No one knows the future. And I normally don't plan too much. I always feel that we need to give the best. So I was in Hindustan Lever for 19 years. And it was going well. As you know, Nidhi, every 3 years a new job. So over a 19 year, there'll be more than 7 to 8 different types of jobs. Interesting stuff. Things goes on well. Only to get a call from a headhunter looking for someone to be placed abroad. And with this headhunter call, what it led to was a job with ArcelorMittal, the world's largest steel company, and I went to Germany as the managing director of the company. So did I plan to leave from FMCG, the world's best FMCG, to the world's largest steel company? The answer is no. If I tell you that, oh, yes, I was planning, I had a vision, I want to go abroad, the answer is no. No, it just happened that I was found fit by Mr. Mittal, who interviewed me personally in his London office. And then I went to Germany. I was there for 5 years, only to be called, because I was in Germany, by Lufthansa. Lufthansa had a company in India called Thomas Cook, which is the world's largest holiday company. They were looking somebody in the Southeast Asia. And I went to Frankfurt office of Lufthansa, stroke Thomas Cook, and I was said that would you like to go back to India to take up this position? And it so happened that my daughter at that point of time got admission to MBBS, you will be surprised, Mumbai. And this Lufthansa Thomas Cook job was in Mumbai. And I came back to India, Mumbai. Only after 3 years to be called by the Ruya family SR group, saying that you were always in steel. Why are you there in a holiday company? So why don't you come back to steel? And it made more sense because steel is huge and Thomas Cook was a smaller company. So as life moved on, there were opportunities which came in my way. It would happen to each one of us, each one of you who are listening to this podcast, that keep doing your best. God will give you opportunities. Of course, you need to apply for jobs. You need to look out for opportunities. For sure, all that has to happen. But believe me, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, God is so kind that if he or she, I don't know God is he or she, but assume God, whoever he or she is, if God closes one window for you, that God opens a door for you.
Wow, that is very inspiring. And related to this question, that since you worked in multiple countries and multiple industries, every time you went into something new, how did you settle in and transitioned in that beautifully? One is about just going in, doing the job. Second is doing the job successfully, and making it like a new, it's like a normal thing. So any advice on that?
Yes, as I say, the three skills: subject knowledge, positive attitude, and entrepreneurial spirit works all the time. And the fourth, and the fourth, and the fifth. The fourth is we are
Hmm.
finance people. All of us are finance background, be it company secretary, chartered accountancy, cost accountancy, MBA, whatever. I believe it is a finance fraternity who will be watching this podcast more than anyone else. To my mind, the skill of finance and accounts is industry agnostic. We are industry agnostic. It really doesn't
Hmm.
matter which industry we work for, from FMCG, uh, fast moving consumer goods, soaps, toothpaste, shampoos, to steel. Uh, it was a very natural uh, progression, I thought, because we are industry agnostic. And the fifth one skill is please learn the technology. As soon as I went to my steel company in Germany, I spent
Hmm.
months, days, hours in the steel plant. Every day I would go to the steel plant. Every day I will be in the furnaces and trying to see how the rolling is taking place, how raw materials are coming in, how steel is going up. Ultimately, it's all common sense. There's no rocket science. There's no rocket
Yeah.
science, common sense. We must understand technology, give little common sense, and yeah, ultimately we're industry agnostic. And with your entrepreneurial bent of mind, positive attitude, and subject knowledge, yes, one can do it. So I feel
Okay, great. Moving on further, how do you define your own leadership style? Yeah.
democratic and not autocratic.
Oh, can you share more insights on that? Like, how do you really motivate, people? How do you really motivate them to do a vision or to take the organization, even the stakeholders around you for a common vision? If you can, share more insights on that.
A leader must always have one characteristic, and that characteristic is empathy.
Hmm.
The moment you have empathy, that means you feel for others. Others would see that the leader is feeling for them. So, in the leadership journey, we have to take others with us. The ability to deal with others. We have heard of the word IQ and EQ, very strong concept. IQ is intelligence quotient knowledge, ability to understand, and that can be acquired. That knowledge can be acquired by giving your best. What about EQ? EQ is
Hmm.
emotional quotient. Emotional quotient is all about the ability to deal with others. That is EQ. We are as good as our people. I repeat, we are as good as our people. We cannot do anything unless there are people who are believing in what you're saying. The people are giving their best, and because of them, the leader succeeds. Think of any big leader, any leader in the world, including our prime minister. Think of anybody. They are what they are because he is able to, the leader, he or she is able to motivate others to work with him or her. So, and that sense of motivation comes because he or she has great sense of empathy, the ability to deal with others,
Yes.
the ability to be concerned with others, and not empty empathy, solid empathy. Push comes to shove, you should be able to move your asses, move out of your solitude, move out of your room, and help him or her if there is trouble. So my one learning and advising in a way that all of you who will be listening to this must occupy the corner chair, must become the CXO, if not the CEO yourself. And the way towards that is your ability to deal with others. Please always think that IQ and EQ goes hand in hand. Just because you're intelligent doesn't mean anything unless you are able to deal with others. Others must love to work with you. Others must love your company. Others must be able to execute whatever you are saying. It's not easy. You have to practice day in and day out. We have to practice EQ. IQ is practice, but that's knowledge. EQ, you have to practice through your mental makeup that I will make others love me, but first you love others. They will automatically love you.
That is so true. It's about, being genuine, and the point you made about having a very high emotional intelligence and striving towards that. That is even more important as we go up and rise in our career. More and more we work with people, this will become, the one of the most important crucial skill. Even sometimes more than IQ. You can have your teams who have, the specialization, but caring for people, you cannot do on, unless you do it from your heart. So thank you for sharing the importance of the EQ over IQ, or even both are important, but definitely not one less than other. So if we, go back, like one of the advice you are sharing with us on the EQ, but in your career, any advice which your mentor or boss had given, which got stuck with you?
Be patient. Don't be impatient. Be patient. Don't be impatient. As a young person, everything has to be done immediately. So one boss had told me in HLL those days that don't be in a hurry all the time. Be patient. And of course, lack of patience leads to short-temperedness. Many of us get angry very fast. Chota sa kuch ho gaya, we become angry. That is short-temperedness. And that doesn't help because anger doesn't generate any revenue. Anger doesn't generate any return whatsoever. So patience is good. If you're an entrepreneur, patience is more important. Nothing happens overnight. If you're a leader, again, patience is very important. Keep giving your best. This is what I think. Keep giving your best. Keep trying. Display your IQ and EQ simultaneously all the time and be patient. And don't be short-tempered. So my advice I got was be patient. And I think I was also told don't be short-tempered. I'm not too sure, but I'm sure I was told. But yeah, these are the two advices I definitely got. And that works brilliantly. That works beautifully. And how true it is throughout a life.
It is very true. But, just going further deeper into this, we get an advice, be patient. But sometimes when results are not happening, you're working towards a complex project, you're working towards something, and then it's become frustrated. Someone has not done something on your time. So how does one practice being patient in a work environment?
It is very important to know that what you are doing is not working. That's the IQ bit. That's where your intelligence will work. That I'm trying, hey, it's not working. So I must do something. Seek help that time. Seek help. Seek advice. Seek help. Or change your tactics. Change the course. Make correction. Make a turnaround. Because nothing is constant. Nothing is static. Change is the only constant. So more we correct as we go along in our life, more successful we will be. But patience is little different from changing tactics. Patient means don't be in a hurry. Don't think whatever you are doing, you will get result overnight. That's impatience. I'm doing this, kal hi result hona chahiye. No, give that little time. And of course, that time will depend upon what is that project you are doing, what is the project you are looking for, or attempting to do or doing it. And if you are doing well, the project will work. But as you go along, use your IQ intelligence to see, am I on the right course? If you are not, make corrections. If required, make a U-turn. Change, stop. But don't be short-tempered, means and impatient. So there is a difference between being patient and being intelligent enough to correct a course. I think the distinction is marginal, but I presume the podcast listeners would have understood what it is.
Yeah, and it also comes with practice as well. So the points which you mentioned about, changing the status quo if things are not working, rather than being impatient, focus on that, what you can change to drive the right outcome, and waiting for the
Experience.
right.
I loved what you said. Is there a substitute for experience? Of course, youngsters, and there are very many young leaders, but sometimes what happens, experience makes a leader more effective. As we are speaking to you today, there is a national election of France going to take place within the few days, and most probably the opposition party is going to win, and they've already announced that the future prime minister is going to be a 28-year-old boy, 28-year-old person. Now, of course, he must be extremely intelligent. I'm quite sure. Otherwise, he wouldn't be his rightist party and wouldn't be able to be aspiring for being the prime minister of France, which is the seventh largest country in the world in terms of GDP. But he has no experience. And therefore, he would be impatient, I presume. He could also be making a lot of mistakes. So, yes, Nidhi, you're right. As we go along in our life journey, we also keep having our experiences to when to correct our course. When should we take corrective action? And that's why experience counts in a big way, be it a sports, be it practical life.
Very nice. At this point, a fun question for you. If you were a financial document, you could choose any document, a balance sheet or any other. What would you choose for yourself? What represent you?
Profit and loss account.
And
I
why?
would always prefer profit and loss account. What does profit and loss account show? Sale minus cost, that is profit, which is called value addition. If the sale is 100, cost is 80, sale price is 100, cost is 80, value addition is 20. I always look at adequate value addition. If you don't add value, you have no right to exist.
Okay, very interesting perspective.
Profit and loss account is the game. Whenever I see a balance sheet P&L and a cash flow, the first statement I will see is a P&L. And the first thing I will see, what is the difference between cost and sales, which is nothing else but PBT or PAT, as you say, and how consistent has it been. So that works always. There is no substitute for profit and loss account, I feel. If you have a good P&L, automatically everything else will follow. Of course, assuming your P&L is not doctored, not fudged.
Yeah.
It's an assumption.
No, absolutely. Assuming the numbers are representing what it is, then P&L is because of the value addition it shows. I think that's the point which you mentioned. And as you have added value over your 40 plus years of experience, so that's where it's great answer that P&L represents you. So Robin, आपके प्रोफेशनल करियर में आप एक या दो चैलेंजिंग सिचुएशंस या प्रोजेक्ट्स आपकी लाइफ में कोई आए, इफ यू कैन शेयर और विद द लिसनर्स, आपने उसको कैसे नेविगेट किया और व्हाट वाज द आउटकम, एनी वन और टू प्रोजेक्ट्स विद.
और हर टाइम पे हर नया नौकरी में नया चैलेंज आ रहा था. The one which comes to my mind is I was in HRL, as I told you, 19 years. Then I moved to Germany, ArcelorMittal Steel. And the steel company was incurring losses. It was bleeding. It was bleeding. So my task is to convert that into profit, make it from loss to profit, and understand Germany. Germans understand technology the best, and I am poor little Indian who now goes from FMCG background, of course, being a financial uh, person having financial uh, degrees, if I may say, or qualifications. So that was the biggest challenge. I thought, no, I still feel that to how to turn around the company. Technology was fantastic. Germans, nobody can challenge its technology. So I realized, apart from various things, reduction cost and so on and so forth, one thing I realized, and it took me some time, patience. I think it took me more than a year to understand why does anyone buy steel from my company, which is a German company. And a customer, when steel is a steel, every company makes same steel. So why should anybody buy steel from us? And it's all German steel, so superior quality, excellent quality, fail-safe quality. And then I realized that one aspect which is important for the customer is to see that if they have ordered a material and the material has to be delivered on, let's say, 15th of August on a particular year, the steel must be delivered on 15th of August plus minus 3 days. That means between 12th August and 18th August, the material must be in their plant. On time, every time. And believe me, the steel company where I went for, they were not even tracking on time. They were not tracking on-time delivery. They were not tracking customer service. And the moment we started tracking it, before this tracking started, I figured out that we were on time. The company was on time about 65-70%. That means for every 100 deliveries, 3 deliveries will not come on time. Customers were not placing orders because not knowing maybe ArcelorMittal will not be able to supply on time. So why should I give it to ArcelorMittal? I will go to ThyssenKrupp, which was my competition plant. ThyssenKrupp, another you must have heard, Thyssen Steel. Thyssen Steel was my competing plant. Again, in the same town called Duisburg. Moment we started tracking on time, whether our deliveries are on time, plus minus 3 days, and plus minus 3 days was noted as 100%. Anything beyond that, the percentage will go down. And from 65 to 70%, we became 95%. And when I left Germany, it was 98%.
Wow.
The company became profitable in 2 years' time. And I was there for 5 years, and it made profit every month, every quarter.
ये बहुत रेलेवेंट पॉइंट आपने बोला. नॉर्मली फाइनेंस के प्रोफेशन में हम लोग उसको देखेंगे भी नहीं कि ऑन टाइम मॉनिटर करना, और आपकी सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट आपके कस्टमर्स के लिए वही पॉइंट था कि ऑन टाइम डिलीवरी, सो दैट उनका मैन्युफैक्चरिंग इफेक्ट नहीं हो, एंड मेकिंग श्योर कि वी ट्रैक एंड देन वी इम्प्रूव. ये तो एकदम दिस वन लीवर इटसेल्फ हैड गिवन यू कंप्लीट इम्प्रूवमेंट इन सेल्स ट्रैजेक्टरी. So, ये important point for all of us listeners. I think this is not only our core job of measuring profits and financial statements. Go into what really our customer wants, understand the customers, and see whether we are actually doing that or not. That will become a differentiator. Understanding the customer and acting upon it. Two very important points, Robin.
Think as an entrepreneur. Think as an entrepreneur. What does entrepreneur think? An entrepreneur is always thinking on behalf of a customer. Customer
Yes.
क्या चाहते हैं? What does a customer want? Whatever am I doing, will the customer take from me? Will the customer want it? Think as an entrepreneur. देखिए, finance, CA, costing, compulsory MBA, these are all passports for a job. These are all just learnings. But at the end of the day, it all boils down to customer. What does a customer want? Customer want cheaper product, customer want good quality product, customer want on-time product, customer want product they want to use again and again. Customer wants also is looking for a solution. The moment you start thinking on behalf of a customer, it works wonders.
So Robin, और कोई स्टोरी आप शेयर करना चाहेंगे?
स्टोरी तो काफी है बहुत ही है बहुत ही है um, I was um, I was the managing director of the company the last 11 years called CareerTransitions Limited. It's a global company. It's a listed company. It's a 100-year-old company. It makes PVC film, polyvinyl chloride. PVC film is a sort of plastic which is used
Okay.
primarily for pharmaceutical packing. It's a primary packaging of tablets and capsules. Let's say you take a crocin, and crocin is packed in aluminium in the bottom and the plastic at the top, and that plastic valve is PVC. So this is a listed company in the public domain and has been around for 100 years, as I said. Same problem. About 5 or 6 years back, I figured out that our sales is not growing. We are not growing the company. And what is it that we can do? Again, it's a commodity. Everyone makes PVC film. And why should anyone buy PVC film from CareerTransitions? So why not from someone else? And then again, we had to go into the shoes of the customer. What does the customers want? And of course, because of my experience with on time every time, that was sorted from day one. that was tracked, and that I could understand that is something which is given. But what else is? Why is the customer not buying from us? Our products were good. Then I realized, or that we realized, that can we who is a customer? A customer is a purchase manager of a company, a pharmaceutical company, a purchase manager. Can we solve the purchase manager's problem? The purchase manager's problem is that for him, the packing material is not an important task. Packing material planning is not very important. So can we do planning on behalf of the customer, for the purchase manager of my customer company? So we instituted a system, a software, that we would maintain stocks of our customer on their behalf.
Okay.
And we would do their planning. That means we would plan and we would tell them, Mr. So-and-so, you had bought PVC film last month. Do you know you are going to run out of stock in 3 days' time? And you'll say, oh, yeah, भेज दो, माल भेज दो. बस हमारा order हो गया, माल भेजना चालू हो गया. So,
wow.
And we did it only for a few large customers who were willing to give some data to us, and did not mind that we would do some broad planning on their behalf. We would do quantity planning, not price planning. They are free to buy the cheapest product or whatever he or she would like to have, but quantity planning. So moment we started doing quantity planning on behalf of a customer, the sales jumped immediately. And from a down tuck, it started going up. So again, a small little stuff we did, and it did wonders.
बट ये जो स्मॉल लिटिल स्टफ आपने बोले ना, वो आइडियाज आने चाहिए. जो आपने पॉइंट बोला, थिंकिंग लाइक एन एंटरप्रेन्योर, ये माइंडसेट अगर लगाएंगे तो कस्टमर की प्लानिंग ही करके उसको सॉल्व कर दिया, गोइंग फर्दर डीपर इनटू सॉल्विंग देयर प्रॉब्लम्स, तो ऑफ कोर्स सेल्स विल बी रियली positively impacted. So both of these stories are amazing. Now moving on further,
both of these stories, Nidhi, are customers focused and nothing to do finance and accounts focused.
Yes, but these two are the differentiator, which had taken your companies for a next level of growth. So it's not about being finance focused, it's about how do we drive business growth. I think all of us would want that. The business, when top line grows, the bottom line will always grow. So both of these, how you can make a difference, दोनों stories में उससे हमें बहुत inspiration मिली है.
Thank you.
So moving on further now, and this is actually a question, a lot of our listeners think about. One is when they are early in the career, कि whether really internship पे ज़्यादा focus करना चाहिए क्या, or when they are later on, should they focus more on, just focusing on the subject matter, or also about, being generally aware, like आपने बोला France का what's happening, or everything, being aware about economy. So what would be your message on that? How can we continuously keep ourselves up to date about what's happening, and not only being a narrow focus person?
Keep reading. The young generation has stopped reading. This is, I feel so sad. I feel so sad that people have stopped reading. People are not even reading daily newspapers. How on earth do you think that you can be successful if you don't know what is happening around you? How on earth it is possible? It is never ever possible. You will say, or the youngsters will say, no, मैं तो news देखता हूँ. But news कैसे देखते हैं? एक तो maybe TV you will watch. That also people have stopped watching. You would be watching YouTube. YouTube is not news. Some are not. WhatsApp messages, that's nonsense, complete nonsense. Mobile, that is definitely taking away our ability to learn. Read, read, read. Unless you read, you can never become relevant. You can never remain relevant. Reading makes relevance. Read good newspapers, good journals. Just one should be good enough, or two should be good. I'm not saying, okay, some of us are love reading, some of us don't. Some of us don't love reading. That's how life is. I don't want to change it. But reading is very important. Passing an examination, maybe you're a CA, MBA, CS, cost accountant, whatever you are, that was just a passport to an interview. And then how do you grow? Knowledge. How do you get knowledge? Knowledge is not only about subject matter. Knowledge is also about environment. Knowledge is also about what competition is doing. Knowledge is also about how the country is doing. Let us, for instance, you are, assuming for a moment, you are in the Treasury Department, and you have got the job because you are a CA or whatever qualification you would have got. And then how do you determine the dollar upar jayega, niche jayega? How do you determine rupee strengthen hoga, weaken hoga? How would you know? Unless you read, unless you know the economy, unless you know about the economics, unless you know what US is doing, Europe is doing, China is doing, Japan is doing, how do you know? How on earth can you function as a treasury manager if you don't know what the hell is happening? Then you will say, अच्छा ठीक है, treasury manager होता तो मैं पढ़ लेता था, but मैं तो अभी SAP करता हूँ, accountant हूँ. अच्छा, you are doing SAP, very good. Now your boss will say, hello, Mr. So-and-so or Madam So-and-so, SAP to karte ho. Now, what is the next generation of SAP? How we will improve SAP? I have been hearing there is this global centers who are doing work, accounting work. We can outsource work. You will say, no, I don't know. You will say, you are not aware. You need to be aware what's happening around in your own field. As you are growing in your life, your boss or your bosses are always evaluating how good or bad you are. That how good or bad is not only about your own area of competence, but also about your general knowledge, how you're able to define the environment. Because the next job, today you may be doing SAP, but the next job may be treasury. Who knows? The next job could be internal audit. Internal audit means modern methods of auditing. What are the frauds which are happening? What are corporate governance issues? They may say, okay, what was the latest? SEBI has come out with a circular saying this is such and such things a listed company cannot do, and you are not aware because you don't read newspapers, you are not up to date. Would you think you will be selected for the position? No, answer is no. We are forgetting that we are always under an interview situation every day. Every day you are on an interview. You are being judged, you are being marked, you are being assessed every damn day. It is not only based on what you know, it is also what you should know. My dear friends, read, read, and read.
Wow.
Success.
Reading is super crucial. Yourself, you are an author of many successful books, and importance of reading is true for every one of us. Now, on this point, Robin, what is your favorite book? Any book which you have, inspired you?
One book which has not only inspired me, I would request each one who will be watching this podcast to read, is How to Win Friends and Influence People. There is a book called How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. This book, you will get it maybe in Radhi shop for 100 rupees. It's a 80-year-old book, 75, 80-year-old book. This has sold millions of copies. Keep it under your pillow and read one page every day. Read the book over and over again, if required 100 times. Even one reading will change the way you are looking at the world forever. How to Win Friends and
Wow.
Influence People. Just read it. You will love it.
This is also one of my personal favorite. But
Okay.
reading it like multiple times, I have to still do. So that's a learning I'm picking up today. So, tell us what motivated you to write books. I mean, one of your like couple of books are bestsellers, like book on corporate fraud. So, what really drives you? You are such a, I would say, regular writer on many leading publications. I've been reading on Economic Times on this one, and many thought-provoking articles. So, what inspired you to do that?
Writing books does not generate revenue for me, and that's not what I write books for. Um, I personally believe that I'm not going to live too long, and I have seen a lot. I've experienced a lot, and I have not found any literature or books where my learnings, or I would guess anyone who is of my age would have gone through a lifespan of different working for different companies, different environments. There's so much of learning we have got, but there is nothing which captures those. Nothing
Okay.
captures our learnings. Now, all the books, almost 99.9% books, are written by professors. Now, no casting aspersions on professors, but professors have no practical knowledge. They don't know how companies are run. Many professors would have worked in industry, but they have been at a middle or lower level. They have never been CEOs or CFOs or CXOs. So my first book was Who Cheats and How. I realized about 10 years ago that these balance sheets and profit and loss accounts which we deal with are not always correct. Maybe I'm a little more pessimistic on this, but I think 6 out of 10 balance sheets are fudged or does not communicate the right story. So I started writing on accounting frauds. I said, let me write on accounting fraud because people need to know what type of accounting frauds perhaps the corporate world is doing. And only to realize that accounting fraud is just one segment of a fraud. There are frauds everywhere, whether it's stock
Okay.
market, whether it's IPO, whether it's banking, there are insurance, there are frauds everywhere. So then I enlarged my scope and wrote this book, Who Cheats and How. Who Cheats and How became a bestseller almost immediately. And as
Wow.
it's about, and as time went by, you would not believe that as I'm talking to you, every day, somewhere in the world, Who Cheats and How gets sold. Every day, one copy gets sold somewhere in the world, from Australia to USA. Now, that led to me thinking that what is it that I can capture with there is no literature? Everything, whenever I see books are all on success, but there are no books on failures. And unless you fail, you can't succeed. Unless a child fails to walk, he or she will not be able to stand up and start walking. Unless you fail in your bicycling, you will never learn how to ride a cycle or to ride a bicycle. And then that kept me to thinking that, and then I wrote the book, Who Blunders and How. Who Blunders and How is all about business mistakes. And that became again a bestseller almost in 3 months' time. So again, because there is no competition, everyone wants to read about it, and the books are full of stories. Every book of mine has between 300 and 400 live stories with the names of companies, with names, whether it's Who Cheats and How they have cheated, and with Who Blunders and How the blunders the name. Now, Who Cheats and How gets sold so much, then I had to upgrade the book to make it more relevant, because the world of cheating, work and corporate frauds moved on. It has actually become much worse, and I'm talking to you. So that led me to write the book on corporate frauds, bigger, broader, and bolder. Corporate frauds, bigger, broader, and bolder. Again, the book was out of print within, again, about 8 or 9 months. It was completely run out. There was not a single copy available of the book. NFRA chairman called me about 3 months back saying he wants some copies. And I said, sir, I have only one copy. I'm sending it across to you. So the bottom line is I write on topics where there are no books. And somehow I feel that if I have to leave this world, I must leave this world with something which people can make the world of business a little better. So that's my objective. Objective is not commercial, but objective is to serve. Perhaps you will say, are you God? No, I'm nobody. I'm just a normal human being. But I genuinely believe that each one of you, need to know what's happening in the world through storytelling method, interesting method, not through big books of management. Those are any case theoretical, very theoretical books. It is either the professors or consultants who write the books, hardly any CXOs write books. So I would suggest whoever is able, have the ability to write, God has given you the ability, please write, if not books, at least some articles, so that the world can become a better place to live in.
I'm getting so much inspired by you. Tomorrow, my copy of Corporate Fraud book is coming, and I'm going to read it next week. So thank you so much for sharing and inspiring. I think for listeners out there, write your thoughts, share with others, share learnings. I think that's what will make this world more beautiful. So, Robin, next question, and this is question for like across the years, right? There would be always some setbacks, some, failures. How do you keep yourself motivated? How do you keep yourself going in these tough situations?
I never think of future. I always give my the best. There are loads and loads of failures, loads and loads of setbacks, but every setback kept forgetting and moving on, try to do my best. And that's advice to all of you. As I said, my second book is Who Blunders Now, Setbacks and Mistakes. So obviously it has happened in my life. It keeps happening every day, keeps happening setbacks. And we just have to think about again tomorrow. And tomorrow is another day, another new sun will come up. Darkness is going to go away. So motivation, I think, is not thinking too much of the result. It is the process which is important, not the result. Think of that those group of men or women who is running the 100-meter sprint. 100-meter sprint takes less than 10 seconds to complete. It's 9.7 seconds or 9.8 seconds. A 100-meter sprint is completed. If those runners who have started from the starting block, thinks, what if I don't win? He or she will never be able to get up the block. That person is only thinking, let me run the best. Let me run the best, result will follow. So, and that 9.7 or 9.8 seconds makes a person a millionaire, multi-millionaire.
Wow.
Because he or she ran that 100 meters the fastest. Each place of our life, Think of the cricketers. Just now, the World Cup ended. India was successful. And think of the way the batsman will bat. If he is thinking, what if I want to pull the ball up, I get caught. But he's trying to hit the six, or she's trying to hit the six. So if he is always thinking about the outcome, the process cannot be done. So think of the process. Don't think of the outcome. Outcome will happen. Many a time we are depressed. Mental disease now is the biggest problem on earth. 3 out of 5 humans on earth having mental health problem. We are depressed. Depression is a big, big problem. We are demotivated, big problem. Because, why is it? Because always thinking of the outcome. Don't think of the outcome, think of the process. Outcome will follow. That's what I try to say.
जैसे गीता में भी लिखा है ना, कर्म करते जाओ फल की इच्छा मत करो. I think that's very important. Like focus on our.
Every religious book talks about two things in various languages, in various ways. Every religious book on earth talks about two things. One, give love unequivocally. Don't expect love in return. Give love, give love, give love. That's what they are saying. And number two, look at the process. Don't think of outcome. Every religious book talks about it. Every motivation book also talks about the same thing. Every motivation speech also speaks of the same thing. But we always forget. What is those two salient features I have heard? Love and process. The rest will follow.
Thank you so much for sharing so many inspiring stories from your life. We want to thank people who were behind you, Robin. Like you shared beginning in your journey, like your, auntie was there to giving you for supporting in your education. Same way, if you can share a couple of leaders or your family members who have been always there, we want to take this opportunity to thank them in this podcast.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. I would definitely like to thank my first boss, Mr. K.B. Dadi said, who became the chairman of Hindustan Lever. He was
Yeah,
my first boss. I would definitely like to thank Mr. Uday Khanna, my first mentor,
yeah,
Hindustan Lever, who recruited me
yeah.
actually. He was a part of the recruitment panel, the first recruitment, the preliminary recruitment panel, Uday Khanna, who became the chairman of ATA. I would definitely like to thank Mr. Debu Bhattacharya, who was the vice chairman, who was the chairman, managing director of Hindalco, vice chairman of Hindalco again. He was a director, executive director of Hindustan Lever. Debu Bhattacharya was my first boss when I went to a factory, which was a Jammu factory. During
Okay.
my during my management traineeship, within 6 months, I was the factory accountant fell sick, and I went to Jammu as a factory accountant. I was there for 1 year, and Debu Bhattacharya was my boss. I will never forget what I've learned from him. These two gentlemen of Hindustan Lever. Then I moved to Mittal, Arshwa Mittal, Lakshmi Niwas Mittal, Ellen Mittal, Mr. Mittal. I have learned how to be a people's person, how to become the ideal blend of IQ and EQ. I've never found anyone in my whole life that like Mr. Ellen Mittal, who has the IQ and EQ blended in the same place. It so happened that he's from the same college of St. Xavier's College, Kolkata. He was from the
Yeah.
same class, 1 year senior. He was sitting in the same room. I don't know whether the same bench or not, but I've learned so much in life that IQ, EQ, and see, he's one of the richest person on this planet. And then I learned a lot from a gentleman called Mr. Tulsi Tanti. My guru, Tulsi Tanti, was the chairman of Suzlon Energy. He's no longer there. He lost the world, lost him about a few months ago. Tulsi Tanti was the chairman of Suzlon Energy, my boss. When I joined Suzlon Energy as a group CFO and member of the board, I have learned something called one, patience, and number two, sheer zeal to achieve something new. As you know, he is known as the renewable energy man of India. He's
Yeah.
known as the wind man of India, and nobody heard of wind energy those days. And Tulsi Tanti made it happen. The company, of course, went through some trouble. Now it continues to doing. Now it is doing well. So my sincere gratitude to Mr. Dadi said, Mr. Uday Khanna, Mr. Devu Bhattacharya, Mr. Alan Mittal, and Mr. Tulsi Tanti. Whatever little I've learned in my life, I've learned so much from these five gentlemen. Except
Thank
Tulsi
you.
Bhai,
Yeah.
everyone is still.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, KK Dadi Seth ji. Thank you so much, Uday Khanna ji. Thank you so much, Devu Bhattacharya ji. Thank you so much, Ellen Mittal ji. And thank you so much, Tulsi Kanti ji, for giving us Robin, who is so inspiring to millions of people. So thank you so much for all your contribution in Robin's success. And that's from our heart. And Robin, it has been an excellent podcast recording with you. I really enjoyed and got inspired by your wisdoms and your stories. Thank you so much for inspiring us. And thank you so much, everyone, for listening to us. It's been an excellent episode. Thank you so much. Have a great day,
Thanks to all of you.
evening.
Thank you. Namaskar.